Number 15. 1967 Chevrolet Corvette L88. On paper, the L88 Corvette didn't look impressive at all. Chevrolet officially rated it at just 430 horsepower, a figure that seemed almost modest compared to other big block cars of the era. But that number was a lie by design. The L88 was a race engine disguised as a street option, featuring aluminum heads, high compression, and internals meant for sustained high RPM abuse. Chevrolet intentionally underrated it to discourage casual buyers, and the strategy worked. Only the most informed and determined racers checked the box. As a result, very few L88 Corvettes ever made it onto public roads, and most disappeared almost immediately into competition, rarely seen cruising city streets. Number 14. 1969 Dodge Charger Daytona. The Charger Daytona was impossible to ignore. Its towering rear wing and pointed nose cone made it look more like a prototype than a production car. Built to dominate NASCAR, the Daytona was produced only in the minimum numbers required to satisfy homologation rules. While it was street legal, its radical appearance and limited availability meant few people ever saw one in daily traffic. Many were quickly converted into race cars, while others were tucked away by collectors who understood just how special they were. As a result, the Daytona vanished from normal streets almost as soon as it arrived. Number 13. 1969 Chevrolet Camaro ZL1. The ZL1 Camaro was never meant to exist in significant numbers. Created to satisfy racing regulations, it featured an all-aluminum 427 cubic inch engine lifted directly from Chevrolet's racing program. With a price tag far higher than a standard Camaro and performance that bordered on uncontrollable for the average driver, the ZL1 appealed to a tiny audience. Most were purchased by racers and immediately modified or destroyed in competition. Very few were ever driven regularly on public roads, making the ZL1 almost mythical, even when it was new. Number 12. 1970 Plymouth Hemi Cuda Convertible. The Hemi Cuda was already rare, but the convertible version took scarcity to another level. Combining the most expensive engine option with the least practical body style resulted in extremely low production numbers. These cars were costly, powerful, and difficult to insure, which meant most buyers simply avoided them. Those that were sold often became garage queens almost immediately. As muscle car performance collided with rising insurance costs and regulations, the Hemi Cuda convertible quietly disappeared from the streets. Number 11. 1968 Dodge Dart Hemi Superstock. Built for drag racing and little else, the Hemi Dart Superstock cars were barely street legal. They lacked many comforts, were difficult to drive in traffic, and attracted constant attention from law enforcement. Owners quickly realized these cars were better suited to trailers and drag strips than grocery store parking lots. As a result, they were rarely seen outside of competition, vanishing from everyday driving almost as soon as they were delivered. Number 10. 1966 Ford Fairlane Thunderbolt. The Thunderbolt was a factory-built drag racer that happened to wear license plates, stripped interiors, fiberglass body panels, and a massive 427 cubic inch engine made it brutally fast, but completely impractical. Ford produced just enough Thunderbolts to qualify for NHRA competition, and nearly all of them went straight to the track. Very few were ever driven regularly on the street, and those that were quickly disappeared into private collections or racing history. Number 9. 1970 Buick GSX Stage 1. While the GSX Stage 1 wasn't built in microscopic numbers, its disappearance from the streets came from a different problem. With enormous torque and aggressive performance, it was expensive to insure and difficult to drive responsibly. As the muscle car era ended and fuel prices rose, many GSX cars were wrecked, modified beyond recognition, or simply parked and forgotten. Over time, clean examples all but vanished from everyday sight. Number 8. 1969. Pontiac GTO Judge Ram Air IV. The Judge was Pontiac's performance flagship, but the Ram Air IV version was ordered by very few buyers. It was expensive, temperamental, and designed for high-performance driving that most owners couldn't fully exploit. Many were raced hard, damaged, or stripped for parts. Those that survived were quickly removed from daily use, making sightings on public roads extremely rare even in the early 1970 seconds. Number 7. 1970. Chevrolet Chevelle SS 454 LS6. Despite its legendary status today, the LS6 Chevelle lived a short and violent life on the streets. With immense power and minimal traction, many were wrecked early in their existence. Others were heavily modified or raced relentlessly until they were worn out. As insurance companies cracked down on high-performance cars, owners either sold them off cheaply or parked them permanently. Clean LS6 Chevelles vanished almost overnight. Number 6. 1965. Shelby GT350R. The GT350R was never meant to be a street car at all. Built strictly for competition, these cars were sold to racers who immediately put them to work. Many were destroyed in accidents, while others were rebuilt repeatedly until little of the original car remained. Although technically related to street-going Mustangs, the GT350R was almost never seen outside of a racetrack environment. Number 5. 1963. Chevrolet Impala Z11. The Z11 Impala existed solely to win drag races. Lightweight components, specialized engines, and race-only intent meant these cars had no place in normal traffic. Most were campaigned hard and discarded once they were no longer competitive. As a result, the Z11 vanished from the streets almost instantly, surviving only in photographs and a handful of preserved examples. Number 4. 1969. Plymouth Hemi Roadrunner Convertible. The Roadrunner was designed to be affordable, but the Hemi convertible version contradicted that philosophy entirely. It was expensive, impractical, and intimidating to drive. Only a handful were built, and fewer still were used regularly. Most disappeared into collections early, making them nearly invisible in everyday life. Number 3. 1967. Ford Shelby GT 500 Super Snake. Built as a one-off experiment, the Super Snake was never part of regular production. Its extreme power made it dangerous even by Shelby standards, and there was never any intention to sell it to the public in numbers. As a result, it never truly existed on the streets at all, vanishing into legend almost as soon as it was created. Number 2. 1971. Plymouth Hemi Cuda Convertible. By 1971, muscle cars were already becoming relics of a fading era. The Hemi Cuda convertible combined extreme performance with the least practical body style at the worst possible time. Production numbers were microscopic, and most buyers recognized immediately that these cars were special. They were preserved rather than driven, disappearing from public roads almost instantly. Number 1. 1969. Dodge Charger Daytona Hemi. Even rarer than the standard Daytona, the Hemi-powered version was built in extremely limited numbers. Its racing-focused design, astronomical price, and intimidating performance meant almost none were used as daily transportation. Most went straight into racing or long-term storage. As a result, the Hemi Daytona didn't just fade from the streets, it was practically never there to begin with.